Right now, though, it's claimed that demand for private pest controllers to exterminate foxes in London soars just after Christmas and New Year. Food waste on London streets during the holidays leads to a spike in complaints from people wanting to be rid of the animals. There are 10,000 foxes in London. Residents complain that they rummage through their bins, keeping them up at night and destroying their gardens. Well, Tom Keatley is a pest controller with 30 years' experience in foxes and joins me on the line now. Tom, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Tom, you say that the demand for your services goes through the roof in the new year. Can you tell us why?
Simply because there's more food available to the foxes. There's a lot more. People eat to excess at Christmas and a lot of it gets wasted. There are no bin collections for a period, so the stuff gets put out and left in bags.
So, I mean, for a start, people shouldn't be leaving stuff in bags on pavement, should they? They should be putting them in some sort of sealed container. So
yes, they should, yes.
So they should be taking responsibility for that. Now, when I was reading about you, I heard you say that foxes prefer feathers over fur. Is that correct?
Given the choice, that's been my experience.
So this means that they prefer a nice chicken or turkey carcass and turkey meat to any other sort of meat.
Given the choice, I think.
Oh, Tom, you're disappearing. Maybe you can stand in a place where you get a clearer signal. Hello, Tom. The foxes have got him. We'll call you back, Tom, and you can start telling me about foxes and your experience. Because the interesting thing is, Tom is an independent pest controller, and foxes are not protected. A lot of people believe that foxes are protected and that we shouldn't be culling them, exterminating them, whichever word you wish to use. Tom, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Ah, that's better. So, Tom, they prefer feathers over fur. People eat a lot more over Christmas, so there's more rubbish out. What sort of people are calling you and asking for your services?
They come from all walks of life. Your average household or some of the very rich. It makes no difference. If there's a problem, there's a problem.
Well, what sort of problems are they having? That, you know, in my introduction I said that they rummage through their bins.
Well, the problems, the reasons I'm often given are noise. That's usually the breeding season.
Well, that's when they're screaming their heads off. That's not to do with food necessarily, is it?
Not necessarily. There's the damage to the garden, which people don't want to tolerate. The mess to leave behind, the smell that they create, and it's not just from the mess; it's from their actual body odour. Pet predation, and sometimes, in extreme cases, child safety.
So, would a person call you to say, "I've got a single fox going around my garden," or will it more often be that it's plural? There are numbers of foxes.
Most cases, it's because there are several foxes, but I do get the call where they say there's just the one fox, but invariably there's more than one.
Now, when we lost you for a moment there on your phone line, I was saying that I understand that foxes are not protected. So if you have a firearm and a licence, you are allowed to kill a fox. Is that correct?
It's not quite as simple as that. Foxes don't have any special protection, as do badgers, but they have protection in that you can't mistreat them in any way. You can't torture them. You can't cause them any harm or any stress. Any harm or stress,
but you can kill them?
You can shoot them, you can kill them, yes.
So do you have to shoot them in a particular part of their body to ensure that they don't go...
Well, I insist that all my shots are headshots to make sure it's a clean kill.
And what sort of gun do you use?
I use what's called a 2.2 rimfire rifle.
And so when you are called out, do you do it under cover of night? Do you have to be careful that there aren't people around?
Of course I have to be careful. That's my priority, is safety of other people.
Yeah.
I always do it at night time. That's when foxes are most active and the least amount of people about.
So, I mean, how many foxes do you think you've killed in your career in London, in a city environment?
I don't know. It runs into thousands. I've never really counted them, but on average I shoot 6 per sitting, per visit.
And what would you say to people who are listening, who are thinking, oh, this is awful, I don't want to hear about these creatures being shot by this man Tom? What would your response be?
Well, on every job that I've ever been to call foxes, they've had a neighbour who feeds them. and they're the people who complain the most, but they're causing the problem by feeding them, and it's artificial feeding. So the fox believes that, there's a steady supply of food, so now I can breed.
But now some people question the effectiveness of what you do, because evidently in the fox hierarchy, once one fox disappears, another one takes its place.
Yeah, it's not instant. Over a period of time, it may be the case, but foxes in your garden are the ones that are causing you a problem.
And so
if you remove those, you solve the problem initially, then you have an opportunity to proof the garden.
And Tom, where do you dispose of these bodies and how?
Well, I've got a couple of farmers who allow me to burn them when they've got a bonfire, but the majority of the time I bury them.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning, Tom, and I'm not quite sure whether I should say have a very fruitful time over Christmas and New Year, but that's obviously what people in London want. They want these pests taken care of. Well, I'd really love to hear about your encounters with foxes. It's always an interesting story that's being told. When I lived in Turnham Green, I had a fox who came out in the day and just used to sleep on top of this garage, which was under my bedroom window. So I would open the window and the fox would just be lying there basking in the sun and look sweet and glossy, and I had nothing to do with it. I also have foxes where I am now in Brentford who stand me down. When I come out in the early hours of the morning to go to work, they just stare me down. They have such chutzpah. So what's the strangest place in London you've seen a fox? What are the problems they cause in your garden? Mine buries things and chucks out all the... I say mine. I mean, I expect it's more than one for a start. Chucks out all the earth. I don't particularly care because I don't really do gardening. Have they gone through your bin? Or do you love them? Do you feed them? Give me a call, 0207 224 2000. A very good morning to you, Sarah Orchard. Do you have foxes in your garden?
When I lived in Clapham, we had them everywhere, and we used to have real problems with them actually rubbing through the rubbish and just tearing it up and fighting in the street as well. And it sounds like a baby crying, doesn't it, sometimes?
Yes. Well, that's when they're mating or when they're, in season.
They used to keep us awake at night. It was really bad in Clapham where we lived.
Well, I didn't see any foxes this morning, but I did see the most glistening, sparkly car tops all